guess remember what we said a little bit earlier. Look at my previous videos where I kind of said, getting kind of 10% a week is achievable, let alone 20%. Hopefully you're starting to see that it is actually very achievable. I mean, with this one, obviously we use the example 1 to 3 risk to reward ratio, and if you win, a couple trades, then you're easily looking at 8% per week by losing 2 and winning 2. But imagine this: if you had a risk to reward of 1 to 7 and you won 2 of these trades, you're risking 3% and you're looking to get 21% back per trade. Then you can imagine hitting 21% a week is 100% achievable. Did you have to sit in front of a computer? No. Did you have to keep checking the charts? Well, this thing found it for me, so no. So guys, this is obviously just me trying to, again, just build you up with enough knowledge to know and factually proving that these targets are possible. It's just you need to stay consistent to your routine. Hey, it's Reiding Pips here, and today, here's going to be a good session. There's a lot of information to go through, so I am just going to jump straight in. Please, if you've not watched my my boot camp in terms of risk management, please watch out before watching this video. Otherwise, a lot of this might not make sense to yourself. But jumping straight in, I'm going to use a harmonic scanner as a visual representation of where to put the entry price and where to put your take profits. And obviously, building on my last video in terms of me saying, getting 8% a week, getting 10% a week growth is very realistic. This again is, I guess, going to help you to kind of see that. Now, as with any trading strategy, you should have a distinct methodology in mind. Is where does your stop loss go? Where is your entry price? And where do your take profits go? And you should have that in mind. Don't worry about all these take profits. That's another way of trading. It's called triple trading, but that's not for today's video. But for today, we're just going to use TP3, take profit 3. Now, whenever you firstly look to enter a trade, and I guess it doesn't matter what your trading strategy is. This harmonic scanner, it finds obviously the setups for you. This is why I'm using this, so I can show you a few worked examples. Whether it's your own methodology, whether you're using some sort of other tool or product or service to grow your account, regardless of how it is that you're going about it, you should always be taking this into consideration whenever you're looking to take some sort of signal, whenever you're looking to take some sort of trade. I guess this isn't a signal, this is a trade idea, but you should always be doing this procedure, which I'm going to explain to you right now. So step number 1, your strategy is going to tell you where your entry price is, where your stop loss is, and where your take profit is. If you ever look into harmonic patterns, they will always tell you, that these can be pretty pointless to do, because the amount, when you do them manually, it absolutely takes ages to try to find them, and most of the time the patterns are failed, so you waste a lot of time. But that's a good thing about obviously having them automated. And all it is saying every time it sees this pattern, 9 times out of 10 this is the outcome, and that's how it works, because again, it's a game of probabilities. That's all a strategy is. This is just, I guess, an automated way of doing it, but I'm using it for visual representation. So let's not waffle on, let's go straight to the point. You know where your entry price is. I like this trading platform. Trading View, as I openly say, is what I use to mark up my charts. This right here, it uses a very similar, it's actually sponsored by Trading View, as you can see, so you'll find that the layout in Trading View will be very similar to what you're seeing right about now. So I like using the longing tool. Why? Because it tells you your risk to reward. Usually if you measure it, you would have to figure out your risk to reward ratio yourself, but when you use a like the longing or shorting tool, you'll find that it figures it out for you. So with that being said, stop loss, you just match it up with wherever your stop loss would be, which you should know from your strategy. Take profit, for simplicity's sake, I'm just going to go all the way to TP3. Triple trading is another topic, not for today. It's a way of securing your equity as you start kind of getting through certain checkpoints, but that's another session. Awesome. So when you measure this is giving you a risk to reward of 1 to 2.7. See that 2.7 there? We obviously said risk to reward is always 1 out of whatever this number will be. So risk to reward of 1 to 2.7, you should have in your confirmation checklist. Is that good enough for you? Are you willing to take trades which are a risk to reward of 1 to 2.7, or is a minimum risk to reward that you need to see 1 to 3? I know I would kind of be breaching my rules a little bit, but 1 to 2.7 is close enough to 1 to 3. So I guess I would kind of be happy to do that if I was feeling a little bit ballsy that day. So bear in mind, this is nice risk reward. Yes, it meets that confirmation. Confirmation number one. Confirmation number two. And I guess in terms of risk management, you need to know the distance between the entry and the stop loss, as we covered earlier. Which this one, can you see where it says 114 down here? That's actually in pipette. So in actuality, that's 11.4 pips. I'm risking 11.4 pips to get 30.8, well, yeah, 30 pips back. You get the point. 11 pips to get 30 pips back. So bearing that in mind, risk to reward 1 to 3, that's about right. Now I can go into the calculator. Now the first thing you need to know is what currency pair are you trading? USD CHF. Here we go. So starting from the top down, your account currency is Great British pounds. It might be different where you live. Account size, we're saying £1,000. Risk ratio, how much of your account do you want to risk? 3%, we're going to be a little bit more on the risky spectrum. Stop loss in pips, 11 pips. Currency pair, we said this was USD CHF, which is bam shaboopy. So when we press calculate, it tells us to use a lot size of 0.3. So this is a lot size which you will put into your trading platform. Now, with this obviously chart, you're probably looking at it. Yes, this one did hit stop loss. As with any strategy, you can't avoid losses. There's no strategy which is perfect. So this one, it got called at the D. Yes, it did hit stop loss. So this one, you would have potentially been stopped out. If obviously you've seen my how to use this harmonic scanner and the confirmations I look for, then you would have found that you wouldn't have entered this trade anyway until it got to this point, which is when you would have looked to enter the trade, so you wouldn't have got stopped out. But hey, keeping it visual right now, say if we entered this trade, this one we would have lost. Boo-hoo, we can cry about it and move on to the next one. Now let's go on to the next chart pattern. So it's the exact same process. Your strategy will tell you exactly where to enter, exactly where to stop your losses, and exactly where you're looking to take your profit. So step number one, once you've got those parameters in mind, then I, like I said, use the long or short position tool. If you're using TradingView with me, great. If not, your trading platform might have a tool like that. But if not, then you'll probably have to crunch the numbers and figure out your risk to reward ratio that way. So with that being said, let's click this. Let's move this across. And then let's do this. Stop loss. Bam. Where this red is, that's lovely. And this one, take profit, let's do where TP3 is, right about here. So this one, we can see that we're risking 13 pips. And we're looking to get 68 pips back. And obviously, it's only a small amount of pips come on a 15-minute time frame. You can do it on the hourly 1 or the hourly 4. As with any strategy, it's not so much about the pips, it's about the risk to reward ratio. So this one, I can see I'm getting a risk to reward of 1 to 5. Does that meet a minimum risk to reward of 1 to 3? 100% it does. So that's rule confirmation number one. I'm willing to take that trade. Now we need to put the numbers in and make sure that we are risking 1 to 3% of what we have. So bearing that in mind, this is GBP USD. So we're looking at GBP USD, and the stop loss in pips was 13 pips. So you find that the methodology stays the same every single time. Most people, if you don't bother with this and you try taking shortcuts, you'll understand why it's not a good idea taking shortcuts. And bam, this is a lot size that you'll put in your trading platform, 0.2. You could round it up if you want, 0.3, but hey, I always like to round down, so I make sure, especially when risking 3%, so I make sure I'm not getting greedy. Cool, I'm going to show you a few more examples, just so you know I'm beating this idea into you, in case you missed it, to make sure you know that you are risking that 1 to 3% of what you have in your account balance. So, looking, for example, at GJ, again, don't get too caught up in all of this which is going on. This is just finding the trade setups for me. I'm sure you have your own way, your own strategy of finding setups. It's just a lot easier doing this and to keep drawing out new examples every single time, which will be long. But say where this D is, say enter in right there. Stop loss goes to where this is right here, and take profit goes to where TP3 is. So question number one that you got to ask yourself, once you've got your parameters set in place, are you getting a risk to reward of 1 to 3? This is 1 to 3.8, so 100% you are. The next thing you need to know is, what is the stop loss which this one is 39.6. So in other words, this one's about a 40 pip stop loss. So we put this into our trading platform, which this is GBP JPY. So for a currency pair, we simply move this to GBP JPY, stop loss 40 pips, calculate, bam, it tells you to use a lot size of 0.1. Now hopefully you're seeing the bigger the distance between your stop loss and your entry, the smaller the lot size you use. So it's inversely proportional. If you have a tight stop loss, you can use a bigger lot size. If you have a bigger stop loss, you use a smaller lot size. Guess you don't need to know that, but it kind of does, I guess, help to know that. But just do bear in mind, it's not so much about the pips. Like I always say, yeah, it's not so much a pips, it's a risk to reward as with anything in life. As with anything, we always calculate the risk to reward. What is the risk of me getting scammed, and what is the potential reward? What is the risk of me getting run over, or what is the risk of me actually coming home safe? What is the risk of a coconut, say a coconut falling on my head? And obviously, yeah, it's like risk to reward. We always evaluate risks and we always evaluate them with rewards. Trading in that aspect is no different. So bearing this one in mind, I'll show you one more example. Obviously at the D where it found that entry, then move that stop loss to where the red is, move the take profit to where TP3 is, Shaboopy. That gives you a risk to reward of 1 to, well, let's round it up, let's say 1 to 7, it doesn't matter, it's over 1 to 3, which if that's in our rule book, your one might be 1 to 1, it might be 1 to 2, might be 1 to 3, that's totally down to you, your trading strategy and your trading style. So this one, all I know is that it's a minimum of 1 to 3, the distance between my stop loss and entry is 29 pips, and the currency pair is CAD JPY. How do I use that data to make sure that I'm risking 1 to 3% of what I had? CAD JPY, bang. Stop loss we said is, I'm a guy, I'm not good at multitasking, I do apologize. 30 pips, 29 pips, let's just keep it accurate, why not? 29 pips, let's press calculate, and it tells you to use a lot size of 0.1. So guys, this is the end of my bootcamp. Hopefully with all this information, you'll be able to make sure that you're trading with, because all of this is about making sure that you're trading obviously with intellect and not trading with emotions. All of this advice that you see on the internet, especially when it comes to risk management, is protecting you from you. You're losing 3% of what you have, okay, you know, it hurts a little bit, but it's not a big deal. Losing 5%, 10%, 20% of what you have. Imagine if you had £1 million in your account right now, and you say lost 20% of that. You lost 200,000 in one trade. That's going to hurt anyone. I don't matter how much money you have. I don't matter how wealthy you are. That's going to hurt. If you had £1 billion and you lost 200 million of that, that's going to hurt you no matter how wealthy you are. And this is why with trades, we always look at it in terms of percentage, and we make sure we're losing small and we're winning, I guess, in effect big. But even when we're losing, it's no more than 3% a trade. So hopefully, summarizing all of this, you can see that when people say you lose lots of money trading, that is the biggest lie you'll ever hear. If they say that, it's because they didn't stick to risk management. If anyone ever tells you that, please send them this video. Please send them this boot camp and be like, I think I figured out what you did wrong. Did you do all of these steps when you look to take a trade? And hopefully, like I said, this will put you in a position where you're trading with your skill sets and you're getting rid of your emotion and making sure you're trading what you see and not trading what you feel. So on that note, ladies and gents, I hope you have an amazing week. Trade smart, trade safe, and please don't trade too often.